In today's show, we're talking Shaedon Sharpe and where the Trailblazers' third-year wing has improved the most this season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we'll talk about Shaedon Sharpe and where the Blazers' third-year wing has improved the most this season. Instead of focusing on some things that he clearly has not been good at this year, I want to talk about stuff that he's actually has demonstrably improved at, and kind of give you a little optimism as we head into game day. Speaking of game day, we'll talk about the Blazers' injury report. DeAndre Ayton is going to return to action, giving the Blazers a lot of centers as they head up against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. And then we'll close the show talking about the AllStar Game, which it's fixed. They fixed it. It's fixed. It's going to be good now. Promise. They got it right. It's going to be really good, and we're all going to enjoy it. Let's start with Shaedon Sharpe. So, kind of the impetus of this show, or kind of where this started, was I was talking to a Blazers friend. This Blazers friend also sent me another text message that's going to come up later in the show, but talking to a good friend about a bunch of Blazers topics over the course of this week and this weekend, and they were saying, I'm kind of worried about Shaedon. Is he better at anything, Mike? Is he better at anything this year? I feel like he's not. And that got me thinking, he's not. Obviously, the shooting is way down. The shooting is the 3-point shooting is becoming problematic, right? It's becoming to a point where you're like, uh-oh. Obviously, he's played 18 games. There's a long season ahead of him to kind of get right, to have a hot streak, to have 5, 6, 7 good shooting games in a row, and kind of make you oh yeah, he's a right around league average type of or slightly below average 3-point shooter, but I wanted to, instead of harping on the things he can't do or the things that he has struggled with this season, which I have a bunch, right? I kind of tend to highlight people's weaknesses, and I try to not do that as often as sometimes I want to. So today I'm going to lean against maybe some of my instincts and talk about where Shaedon Sharpe has legitimately improved. And the number one spot that he's legitimately improved, and he's done this in a couple different ways, and we'll touch on all of them, is he's just making shots at the rim at a higher level. He's just simply making shots at the rim at a higher level. I'm going to bring up, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to take you inside the paywall. This, my friends, is Shaedon Sharpe's Clean the Glass page. Shout out to Clean the Glass, a subscription website brought to you by Ben Falk. And you can see this number here, 70% at the rim. A huge increase from last season. His rookie year, 67% at the rim on pretty similar volume and frequency. Last year, nearly identical volume, about 4 shots at the rim a game. And the way Clean Glass does it, the rim is within 4 feet. So last year he was taking about 4 a game. This year he's taking about 3.8 shots per game. Very similar volume. But last year he made just 54% of his layups. And I thought one of the big challenges for Shaedon Sharpe last year was he has all this great athleticism. He has all this skill, but he gets to the rim and just leaves, and isn't finishing at a high level. That's got to be a part of his game in the future. And you think okay, well, as he gets older, he's 20 years old. He'll eventually, he'll turn 21. He's as he gets older and stronger and smarter about how to attack defenses, he'll get there and finish. And his rookie year, he finished a lot better. But it was a point where it was a point last year where I was this is something to monitor, right? This is something to monitor. This year he's been way better. 70% of the rim, which is the way Clean the Glass does it. It's among players at your position. So among combo guards this year, that's in the 75th percentile. He's good. 70% of the rim, 75th percentile. It's above league average. It's good for his position. It's Shaedon Sharpe making layups and finishing, using his athleticism to be forceful at the rim is a big step forward, right? That is a place where he needs, if you're going to have the burst that he has, the sort of just like ability to get off the ground faster than anyone else, that sort of explosion, like to be able to finish once you get there is going to be the thing that makes you really special. And this year he has taken strides to be really special in that spot. He's not like the elite of the elite, right? He's not Zion Williamson or like Shaq or whatever. But he is pushing up towards a level where he is like well above league average. He's good at his position where it's like, yeah, this is a strength of his game. So I was thinking about a couple things. A lot of the stuff that is going to make Shaedon Sharpe special at the rim is ability to get there on his own. His rookie season, when Shaedon Sharpe played with Damian Lillard, he did a really good job of working the baseline. He would start in the corner because he's just like an off-ball dude at that stage in his career as a 19-year-old rookie in the NBA. He would start in the corner, and then as the play happened, he would kind of hunt the baseline, and he would, he'd throw down maybe once a week a crazy lob dunk sneaking in from the corner. But a lot of that ability to do that involves more defensive attention on the ball than the Blazers currently generate with the roster that they have. Damian Lillard's going to get 6 eyeballs, right? He's going to get 2 to the ball on a pick and roll. He's going to get a help defender pulling in. If he runs a simple pick and roll with whoever the center might be, Yusuf Nurkic or whoever it might be, like they're going to get attention. That's going to get attention. Last year, Sharpe not nearly as good as a cutter. And so then a lot of his shots at the rim were self-created shots, right? Like shots that you have to get there on your own. And the challenge for him to move up into the tier that you hope he can get to is self-creation at the rim. That is what, like, the best players in the league go get their own buckets. That is the mark of the best players in the league. I'm not saying Shaedon Sharpe is like either destined to be there. I'm certainly not saying that he is there now, but if you're hoping that he tracks in that direction, the way that you do that is you drive to the rim. You take the ball off the bounce and get yourself to the rim, or one dribble, 2 dribble, quick moves, or if you really got it, a cajillion dribble moves and get yourself to the rim. For Shaedon Sharpe, it's probably more like 1 dribble, 2 dribble moves, straight line cuts. So I wanted to look at what he did as a driver and as a pick and roll ball handler. And I used NBA.com's tracking data, which I got to admit, I don't love. It's incomplete. Not every game gets the tracking data. So I'm going to say this with like a small caveat. This is what is available publicly on NBA.com. It's available to you publicly on NBA.com. Feel free to pore over it. I don't think it is a complete sample necessarily, and I think some of it is somewhat inexact. I do not love the tracking data from NBA.com, but it's what we have, dear friends. Until someone, hold on, if you're listening and you can sell me a Synergy account, please just let me buy access to Synergy. It's unbelievable that I can't just purchase it on my own. So if you're listening out there and you can sell me one of those, I will pay whatever you generally charge people for it. I would be happy to use it and share it with my listener base. Here's what we got from NBA.com though. As a pick and roll ball handler this year, Shaedon Sharpe has taken legitimate strides and is way better than he has been. On the season, Shaedon Sharpe is averaging 0.92 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler. And you might say, like, what's that? It's like, that's a 92 offensive rating. It's not that good. That's the 65th percentile among players with at least 10 possessions. If you whittle it down, he's a little bit better. He's scoring about the same amount in pick and rolls, like in terms of points per possession, as Devin Booker. He's not. He's a little bit less efficient as and he passes, a little bit less passing than Book, but like. He is about the same level of efficiency. Book is 0.98 points per possession, and Sharpe is 0.92. For instance, Anthony Simons is 0.93, very similar as a pick and roll player to Shaedon Sharpe this year, which tells you both Anthony Simons' struggles and Shaedon Sharpe's improvement. 65th percentile across the league. Shaedon Sharpe is an above average scorer out of the pick and roll, and that is with his weak handle. The dude has a weak handle right now, and he's a pretty good pick and roll operator. Imagine if he took strides as a ball handler and is able to get where he wants to go. Like looking up these numbers made me feel better about where Shea is. compared to what my eyeballs see. And I think this is important because a friend who texts me, you know who you are. I'm not going to mention your name on the show. This makes me feel a little bit better about kind of where he's at. For comparison's sake, as a rookie, Shaedon Sharpe averaged 0.67 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler. In his second season, where he played just 32 games, 0.68 points per possession. So he's taken massive steps. That was the 16th percentile and 18th percentile across the league in years 1 and year 2. In year 3, he's above average, 65th percentile, and like pretty good. Again, like, I think probably the threshold for Shaedon Sharpe to be like excellent as a total NBA package would something be like pushing this up towards the 70th and above percentile and being a better jump shooter. But that's a goal to aim towards. You have to have a base to aim towards your goal. This base is putting you in the right direction. And again, the number one place where he has improved this season, I guess it's like taking long mid-rangers. If you really look at his long twos he's more efficient on those shots. And maybe he could turn in some bad threes that he's missing for some long twos. Although I don't think the modern NBA people are really itching for you to do that. But maybe there's some truth there when you are shooting under 30% from three. But like the number one spot Shaedon Sharpe has improved is getting to the rim. So it's like, how does he get to the rim? So I looked at not only his ball handling, pick and roll ball handler, but his drives. This season, he's shooting 50.7% on drives on about 7.5 drives per game. Last season, he was below 40% on the same number of drives, 7.3 drives per game, below 40%. And the Blazers score on Shaedon Sharpe drives 72.2% of the time. It's a pretty effective play for the Blazers. Last season, for instance, 51.3%. His drive field goal percentage and their Blazers score percentage are very similar as a rookie. This year it's 50 and 72. That's the field goal percentage and the percentage of possessions the Blazers score on. As a rookie, it was 50 and 70. Very similar, but he was 2.7 drives a game. He's upped it. He's more than doubled his number of drives per game in year 3 compared to his rookie season, where he just didn't have a lot of on-ball responsibilities. More on-ball responsibilities and a huge jump in efficiency from year 2 to year 3 when he is driving. There are holes in Shaedon Sharpe's game. The jump shooting is a big thing. The ball handling is a big thing. The defense is a big thing. There are places where Sharpe needs to improve to get to the level where you are comfortable in saying, this dude is, plug him in as a starting shooting guard for the next decade, et cetera, right? But I think looking at these numbers, and they're not perfect, and they don't 100% match up with what my eyeballs see. And I trust my eyes first, and hopefully the numbers help me understand what I'm missing or what I'm also seeing. But Sharpe isn't, even with a weak handle, and even with the inability to get where he wants to go, he has improved significantly as a driver and as a pick and roll operator and as a finisher at the rim. And all of those things indicate someone who can be a good primary scorer in the league. And y'all, if he ever makes jump shots ever again, he has a path to being a pretty good offensive player. Obviously, that one is the red flag. All right, that's where Shaedon Sharpe has improved the most. Some numbers to know. Let's talk the injury report. Blazers play the Denver Nuggets tomorrow, and DeAndre Ayton back in action, it sounds like. Let's talk about that in the second segment. Join me on the other side. First, though, I want to tell you about BILT. You want to get points? You want to get paid for doing the things you already do, like paying rent? Well, why not check out BILT? Today's episode is sponsored by BILT Rewards, and if you're a renter, you got to listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to BILT, you can now earn points on rent, just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks. It's completely free to join. What you do is you sign up for BILT at joinbilt.com, and then you're going to earn points on rent and other everyday spending at no additional cost. And you can redeem those points you get. The best way to redeem them is for travel, flights, hotels. You can redeem them for future rent payments, but they also got over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program. So if you are thinking about taking a vacation, maybe check out BILT and access unique experiences that are exclusive to BILT members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt, BILT.com/lockedonnba. Make sure you use my link so they know I sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time, the place for last-minute tickets and the place for tickets in general. Whatever you want to go see, whether it's sporting events, concerts, comedy, or theater, Game Time's got all the features to make sure you're saving money and getting the best deals. They've got curated deals with Game Time picks to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. They've got a feature all-in pricing, which I really like. So many of these apps, you click through and then it's like, oh, there's a convenience fee. Well, and it's a surprise when you get to checkout. Well, if you toggle all-in pricing on Game Time, you pull up the venue on your phone of whatever you want to go to, sporting events, concerts, whatever it might be. You say you're going to a Blazer game later this month or in January, and you say like, okay, I want to go to a game. Pull up the Moda Center. You'll see the Game Time picks, curated selections. If it says it's going to cost you $42 to sit in that seat, well, when you get to checkout, you're going to pay $42. It's pretty simple. So toggle the all-in pricing feature. Toggle it and don't get confused. And you can just avoid the confusion altogether. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use that redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Blazers back in action after a little 3-day break. They play the Denver Nuggets, who are maybe good again. I just watched the end of the Nuggets last game. They made their last 7 shots and came back from basically dead in the water to beat the Kings in Sacramento. Jamal Murray looked good, and if Jamal Murray looks good, the Nuggets are very good. When Jamal Murray looks pedestrian, the Nuggets are not very good. But every single time they play, or nearly every single time they play, they have Nikola Jokic, and if you have Nikola Jokic, you're probably going to have the best player on the floor by a fairly wide margin. So what do the Blazers need? Well, they need a bunch of tall dudes to handle them. And good news, one of their tall dudes is back, or at least very likely to be back. DeAndre Ayton, according to reports from Blazers reporters at practice the last 2 days, has been on the court. Chauncey Billups told reporters that Ayton, has been back in practice each of the last 2 days. Ayton spoke to reporters today and told them that he feels good. He was dealing with sounds like a pretty gnarly illness. He said he had a whole bunch of mucus and he was exhausted and sweating and just sick, like he had the flu. And he said he had to get tested for COVID and everything. And they were just like, yeah, you're really contagious. Stay away from everybody. So even to go back into the practice facility, he was having to wait till everybody was out and go in on his own and kind of like get his work in, so he wasn't around any of his teammates. But he said, he's rested up. He's kind of done his best to stay in shape during the illness, and he's ready to go. He's officially listed as questionable, which is typically a designation when a guy has missed time. They'll put him back as questionable. I'd be very surprised if DeAndre Ayton does not play, but I guess in there is a world in which he doesn't play because that's what the word questionable means, although I don't think NBA teams use it in that. They don't use the parlance as specific, as literal. It does add a little bit of confusion to the mess. Sorry, before we get into the confusion. The only other name on the injury list, Matisse Thybulle is still out. Sean Hyken of Rose Garden reported that Matisse Thybulle has moved up to on-court work, but isn't doing contact stuff. So sounds like that's at least a step in the right direction. But he's probably still talking January for him if he's not doing full contact, although that remains to be seen. But Delano Banton is on the injury report with a hip contusion. No details on exactly when he sustained that, but Banton officially listed as questionable. We'll see Banton's availability. They have a little bit of they kind of need Delano Banton. It's surprising to be at this stage of the season and being like, well, they're gonna miss him if he's not around. Obviously, they can just like extend Denny's minutes and give him a little more on-ball responsibility, and that can make up for some of what Banton does. But Banton has been maybe the Blazers' best guard this season, although he has struggled of late. Yeah, they kind of need another dude who can dribble towards the rim and be big, and so missing Banton will be. I don't know if it'll be like a massive absence, but you'll probably feel it a little bit just because of the sort of Blazers' available skill sets as is. But for me, give me a whole bunch of minutes of Scoot, let him fail. Give me a whole bunch of minutes of Shaedon Sharpe. Let's see what he's got. Give him, it's extend Denny into the 30s. Let's. I think it's not like extremely detrimental to the overall goals of the team if Banton misses time. Ayton's return does complicate things a little bit. They just have 3 centers who need to play. It's hard to play any of them together in any sustainable way. The Nuggets don't offer you lineups that you could play 2 bigs against in any meaningful way. Like the Nuggets play like super small, a little bit of Cade Tyson was playing a little bit in their last game against the Kings when I watched. It's like, do you want to put Rob Williams in there to guard Cade Tyson in those bench minutes? Maybe you get away with that. Maybe that's fine. But it's like not natural 2 big lineups. You don't want another big guarding Aaron Gordon. He's such a good cutter and he works so well off Jokic. Like that seems like you just can't get away with it. Maybe they'll try it, but they won't get away with it. I know that for sure. If Ayton plays, he's probably going to play north of 30 minutes. If he plays north of 30 minutes, you probably have to spend some time with Rob and Donovan Clingan on the court together, as I mentioned. That's not ideal for either of them. I don't know that a solution is coming. I think eventually the Blazers will likely trade Rob Williams, but that's not going to happen until February or whatever. Like I would assume that happens at the trade deadline. If it happens, it's really going to be challenging to trade DeAndre Ayton this year just because of who he is and the price tag. And obviously Donovan Clingan's part of the long-term plan. So like, I just think you have the stretch when everybody's healthy where you have some challenging choices to make. And let me push this out real quick. They're not faking an illness in order to trade DeAndre Ayton. I believe 2 things about this. There's no such thing as a showcase in the NBA. They're not showcasing anyone. They're not showcasing veterans or whatever. The only time you'll see a true showcase is when you get like a veteran who hasn't played literally the whole year. He's played 6 of the first 55 games, and he'll get in like the last 2 days before the trade deadline to prove that he can run around. That's the only time you'll see a showcase. Otherwise, like they're not showcasing Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons or DeAndre Ayton. Those dudes have played in the league long enough that everybody knows what they bring to the table. And the Blazers wouldn't fake injuries to make a player more tradable. So when you see DeAndre Ayton on the injury list, and my friends have been guilty of this, and I've blasted them in the group chat. It's like they're just sick, okay? They're just sick. They're just hurt. This is not some grand conspiracy. I know people like grand conspiracies, so I'm gonna let you cook. But like, DeAndre Ayton missed time because he didn't feel well, not because the Blazers were cooking up some master trade. But I do think his presence does complicate sort of the rotation because he's going to start and he's going to play a lot. And that adds a wrinkle that is maybe not great for where they're at. Who could have possibly seen this coming other than all of you, dear listeners, and also this podcaster, that keeping the veterans on the team would add to some confusion about the direction of the franchise. Tough test. Denver and then Dallas, these next 2 games. I think Blazers lost 6 in a row, and these aren't any easier for them. Denver looked a little vulnerable beginning of the year. They feel a lot less vulnerable now, but should be a good game, or at least an exciting game because you're watching, at worst, the second best player in the world play basketball. Let's talk the AllStar game. Nikola Jokic will be there. No one else in the game will be. And the NBA's fixed it. They got a perfect solution that everyone will love, and the midseason showcase is finally solved. Join me in the 3rd segment, and I'll talk about the perfect solution the NBA finally cooked up. First, though, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and an official sports book partner of the NFL. FanDuel wants you to tackle all of your NFL action right now because new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL all in one place. So if you're watching a game and you get a hunch, you can check out the latest stats, you can view play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. The NBA did it. They fixed the AllStar Game. It's been a mess over the last, increasingly more of a mess over the last, I'd say, 7 years. It's non-competitive. It's a joke, a farce. It's not worth watching. It is rarely rewarding unless you are deeply invested in, like, you know, Damian Lillard winning the All-Star MVP. But otherwise, you will not be rewarded as a fan for watching it. And you might be able to, you know, squeeze some enjoyment out of it. But if you enjoy basketball, the All-Star Game is not for you. But luckily, the NBA fixed it. They got it right. They fixed it. Here's what they did. There's a new format for the All-Star Game. Oh, gosh, guys. I don't know if I can keep up this charade. Okay, here's a new format for the All-Star Game that's perfect. There'll still be 24 All-Stars, 12 from each conference. They'll be divided into 3 teams of 8. And then there'll be a 4th team of the rising stars, sophomores and rookies and sophomores rising stars, another team of 8. They'll be separated into 2 semifinals, They'll play first to 40 with an elim ending. And then the winner of each game will meet in the championship round. And they'll play a game to 40 to crown an All-Star champion. The teams will be selected by TNT's Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley, and it will be a wonderful television experience, and the league has solved it. Congratulations. I don't know that this does anything. I guess what it does 2 things. It does one thing mainly. It shrinks the teams down small enough to hopefully shame all-star players into trying. It's probably not going to solve it. It's just gone too far in this direction. And some of this is the poison of modernity. Some of this is just where we are. Look across the same friend. I mentioned the text message. When this new format came out, this same friend, unnamed pal, sent me a text that said, it says the link from whatever website it was. I believe it was the 4-letter network. And it said, like, the NBA done got Pro Bowled, was what the text read. And the Pro Bowl in the NFL has now turned into a flag football competition. And then they do skill stuff. And they very specifically do not play a football game because it was too hard to get guys to play in one of, an extremely dangerous sport that could, cost you your livelihood, among other things, once the games didn't matter at the end of the season, much less traveling to Hawaii with your family when you're like, want to not be doing that anymore and you want to be done with your challenging, travel and working season, et cetera, et cetera. The NFL, nuked it. We're not going to do that anymore. The NHL has also gone to a more gimmicky format and not like a straight up all-star game. This is happening across sports leagues. Baseball still has their all-star game. Baseball's different. It's not like it's a team sport. Certainly you do. It's a collective sport. I like baseball a lot, but it's like you do it by yourself out there. It's a lot of individual action. Although it is very collective. It's the beauty of it is you do it alone and then you hope your teammates help. But like this isn't unique to the NBA. The NBA done got Pro Bowled. They just realized that it doesn't matter anymore. Also, something that has been pointed out ad nauseum by Casey Holdall of Trailblazers.com is that the NBA weekend is exhausting. There is so much, like if you're a true high-level star, and most of the guys who make the All-Star team are true high-level stars. Every year there's like, some sort of like first-timers that don't have the same type of sponsorship responsibilities. But like if you're, and I've covered a couple All-Star games and it's a lot of traveling around and doing shoe promotions and promotion for your, for other brands that you are associated with. And then that night, your agency has a party. And even if you're not a drinker, like even if you're not someone who's going to go get drunk on Friday and Saturday nights, you're going to have to go out and stay late and go to a club because that's what you're supposed to do. So by the time you get to Sunday, you've just been whirlwinding nonstop. You flew out, obviously flying a private jet. These people are rich. They travel differently from us. But like fly out on a private jet, go to the AllStar Game, do a whole bunch of brand stuff and parties and all this. You're just like gassed. And like Casey Holdall, who's covered it up closer than I have over the years, is like pointing out, it's just too much by the time you get to Sunday. Casey is in favor of just eliminating the game altogether. I don't know if I feel that strongly yet, but I don't think this saves it. I really don't. I think this is in some ways... Shoot, let's do it. I think this is in some ways the legacy of the LeBron James era. My man didn't do the dunk contest. The only failing of LeBron James' career is that he didn't do a dunk contest like a coward. And then he ruined the dunk contest because stars didn't do it for a whole generation and perhaps never again. That's LeBron's fault. And like under his watch in the post-Jordan, post-Kobe era, when he was the face of the league, people stop taking it seriously. The All-Star Game is a joke. And perhaps this is the beauty of LeBron is that he understands longevity. This game doesn't matter, and I'm going to play 22 seasons, et cetera, et cetera. But the game doesn't matter. The game doesn't matter. And I don't think you can magically make it matter. You every so often you'll hear a Kevin Durant or a Devin Booker soundbite that came out this week. There's like, the game should be competitive. Okay, go make it competitive, y'all. Like, you guys go make it competitive. Take that responsibility to make it a competitive game. It hasn't been. Will the 8-player format make the game more competitive? I think it has a chance to. The games will be shorter, but the rookie-sophomore game over the last few seasons has also been a total farce. I think the trick is that if you love basketball, you have to detach it from what you expect from All-Star Weekend and enjoy All-Star Weekend for what it is, a showcase and a celebration of the league's best players playing a glorified shoot-around, not even a practice. Practices are probably harder in the NBA than what they're doing at the All-Star break. This is like a somewhat organized shooting contest. A shooting contest where guys were highly competitive would be more fun than the All-Star Game. Hopefully this fixes it and like my skepticism in December gets shown up in February. But I think the real truth is that no Blazers are going to make the All-Star team and I won't watch. That's a trick. I've solved it for me. Hopefully you can solve it for yourself too. Come back for tomorrow's show. Blazers play the Denver Nuggets, and we will have you covered for that game. A recap of everything that happened. It's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.